Welcome to part number 3 in our tractor decision series, diesel versus gas. Welcome back to Purple Collar Life. If this is your first video with us, we're talking about tractor decisions, and in this video we're talking about gas engines versus diesel engines. In part number 1 we talked about new versus used. In part number 2 we talked about hydrostatic versus standard transmission, and in this video we're going to talk about the advantages of a diesel engine and the advantages of a gasoline engine. My John Deere 2210 tractor, as you can see, has a very small, very compact diesel engine. This small diesel engine puts out about 23 horsepower, a little bit more than 23 horsepower. This is a 3-cylinder Yanmar diesel engine used in our John Deere tractor. I've also had the opportunity to drive my dad's John Deere 750 tractor, and that tractor is also powered by a diesel engine. As you can see, our Ford Workmaster tractor is a gas-powered engine. You can tell telltale signs right here: spark plugs and a carburetor with gasoline in the sediment bowl. Now, I think most newer tractors are all going to be diesel. Even the 22 horsepower tractors, they're still diesel. The 50 horsepower, the 70 horsepower tractors, I'm seeing that those are diesel tractors today. And there are definitely some advantages to diesel. First of all, it's more fuel efficient. You'll find that you'll run many more hours per gallon of diesel fuel than you will gasoline of an equivalent engine size. You'll also find, just like you would with a truck, that a diesel engine has a bit more torque at the low end. So great for those low RPM operations, whether that be driving, loader work, towing something, heavy lifting. Even if you rev up a diesel engine, your RPMs will not be as high as a gasoline engine equivalent. If you're looking at an older tractor like our Ford 8N tractor or this Ford Workmaster, typically you're going to see a gasoline engine, because in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, most tractors, even if they were, in this case, over 40 horsepower, or in the case of our Ford 8N tractor, in the 20 horsepower range, these tractors typically had gasoline engines. So let's talk about some reasons why you might want a diesel engine. I would say if you're going to be running long amounts of hours, if you're going to have this tractor running 8 to 10 hours a day, this is like your day job running a machine, diesel engine is the way to go. It's going to last a lot longer. It's going to have all that power you need day in, day out. And it's not at all uncommon for diesel equipment like tractors or excavators or skid steers today to have thousands and thousands of hours on them of everyday work like that. These engines were made to work, and that's one of the advantages of a diesel engine. So why would you want a gas engine like in this old Ford tractor? Well, these gas engines are a lot easier to work on. Most garage mechanics can do a lot of the work to this engine. I know old farmers that have rebuilt these engines time and time again, replaced pistons, replaced seals, replaced piston rings, reset the timing. Everything from rebuilding this engine from the block out has been done by farmers. And the ability for someone to learn and work on these tractors on their own in their barn is a huge advantage. Another big advantage of a gas engine is, you can see this is over 40 horsepower. There are no emissions regulations on this tractor. So I know some people will say, don't worry about emissions when it comes to today's tractors. Having had all the trouble I've had with a diesel pickup truck, I do worry about emissions control on my tractors. So I really like that I get over 40 horsepower of pulling power and operating power with this tractor without having to worry about the diesel emissions regulations on the machine. And I'd say there's a lot of other people like me too, because the most popular sizes of tractors are under 26 horsepower. That RK25 tractor that I test drove and did the video on a couple years ago is one of our more popular videos, and that is by far their most popular RK tractor. It's the perfect size for most homeowners, without getting into a higher horsepower tractor with all those diesel emissions regulations. So if you look at a Kubota, a John Deere, an RK, a Coyote tractors, 26 horsepower is that cutoff point. You'll see a lot of tractors that are just under that 26 horsepower mark because that's how small they need to be in order to not be regulated by those diesel emissions regulations. So I've got my John Deere 23 horsepower machine that has none of that diesel particulate or diesel regeneration or any of those regulations on it. And we've got our Ford tractor, we've got the Ford 8N tractor. These are long-lasting gasoline engine machines. So either way, it really depends on what you need to do with it. If you're gonna run it every day, probably go with the diesel. If you're gonna run it for weekend tasks or evening tasks like we do with our Ford tractors, the gasoline will work just fine. And if you're thinking about over 26 horsepower and you can find an old gas tractor like this, it might be the way to go. So thanks for watching today's tractor decision video. Those of you who own tractors like these, go ahead and leave those comments down below on your thoughts about diesel versus gasoline. I'm hoping that the comment section of these videos can be just as valuable as the video itself. If you liked the video, please give us a big thumbs up. If you're not already following us, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Click the bell beside it so that you get notified when we put out new videos. And stay tuned for our next Tractor Decision Series video coming up tomorrow.